The following is a presentation of Muddy River News.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
You don't know anything.
Edibles are legal. Yeah, he didn't care. That'll be the first start of it. Edibles legal, even though I don't do them. So.
Huh?
Nothing. We're just starting the podcast. So.
Oh, is it starting?
Brittany didn't want me to wear my shirt. Buy my new Fernando Valenzuela shirt. She wanted me to wear it.
Sports.
Yeah, sports.
I don't get it.
I don't either, but I do like the look of it.
Fernando Valenzuela in 1981 was a rookie for the Dodgers. Came up, won the NL MVP. Not MVP, Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, led the Dodgers to the World Series. It's a great story. You had Fernando Mania. There's like a mini-series or a documentary on it.
Nope.
Never. No sports in the. No, we're going to talk about
what I heard that
dirty,
whole
nasty
time?
stuff with the police officers.
You know what I heard that whole time?
What?
Womp, 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 womp.
Sort of like when I was sitting in your dance thing. I heard the same thing. I heard a lot of womp womp there too.
Yeah.
And I don't, I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it's a sport or not. I don't care.
It is a sport.
But I don't care.
It's a sport.
I don't care.
It's a sport. Last word, kill your stand. Okay.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Yeah, that was on Facebook today. I had a last word issue.
Yeah, I loved it. You know what I thought was hilarious? Because you said, I don't get in the weeds with these people.
I was pissed, though.
Yeah.
This guy was a tool.
He was a guy?
He was a tool.
Yeah.
Also, he was trash-talking one of our favorite establishments, which we will just not stand for, especially if it has to do with food, because we love our food.
And on our platform.
Yeah, and it was a great interview. It was a lot of fun. Roberto was great. Ellen and I went there last night. It was awesome. And, and this guy was just, totally, crapping on it. I'm like, and I wasn't even mean. I was just like,
no, you were just,
oh, by the way. And he's like, oh, yeah, clown. And I'm like, wow. And, I mean, he just got hostile. And I'm
but that's how you can tell
okay.
He's one of those guys who probably just sits in his basement and waits for someone to say something that he can disagree with. That it's like some people just love to be contrary.
He thinks
right?
Casey's Pizza is fine cuisine.
Maybe.
Which ain't bad.
Was it against you, or was it against the establishment?
It was against the establishment, but then it became a personal attack on me.
Yeah.
Then, because I was defending very mildly, I just said, you're wrong. I said, it's a really bad, that's probably the worst take we've had all week. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, settle down.
Yeah.
And
then Martha Adrian jumped in.
No, that's great.
I just love it.
And
never a dull moment.
But then I had someone who I know and respect sent me a message and said, you should delete that. I'm like, I'm not deleting that.
No.
Well, I hope Roberto didn't read. I'm like, Roberto didn't care. I'm like, there were 120 comments and 119 of them were good.
I mean, you can't please everybody all the time, and everybody just loves. That was my comment. I love the very few people who come here just to be negative Nancy's because they know they love the argument.
Yeah.
And it's like, you say whatever you want. You have the right. You have your opinion. Blah 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 blah. Just be prepared because we all love our food. We love the establishment. We love Roberto. We love everybody who works there.
Yeah.
They all work really hard to make sure that everybody has a great experience and great food.
I mean, it's, again, up there with the McLean establishments and tiramisu. And I mean, we have some really great places to go eat here in town.
And I'll never make it to Italy to have a meal in Italy. So that's as close as I'm going to get, and I'm going to enjoy it. So
stop yelling at me.
Yeah, you were like, I'm yelling. I love it.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, dude. So, but anyway, and again, I thought the interview was great. And again, got to talk to Roberto last night.
Check it out.
Yeah, it was really good. So, but we want to wish Roberto and Terry well as they head to Florida, and
no, they're not closing. A lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, are they closing?" No, Ilya and his wife, right, are taking it over.
And then the rest of the crew will still be there. So it's
his
still
wife Susanna.
I think so.
Yeah,
but it is. It's just it's awesome. Yeah. So, but we are getting ready to talk about some serious things. You guys are
semi-serious. I don't know.
Some serious?
I mean, some of the content, I think, like the subject matter, some of it's serious, but the point of Club Muddy is to.
That's what
David
said that.
Yeah.
David was like, look, are we going to start? Because he thought when we're having Sergeant James Brown on with Quincy Police, and David said, are we just going to start having hard news interviews? I'm like, I don't think this is going to be a hard news interview.
No.
I think we're going to have some fun.
So
what better way to get to know somebody who has a super serious and important job than to ask him off-the-wall Club Muddy questions?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do.
That's what it's all about.
But you brought up something, cop. What was your question?
Okay, so what do you think the word cop means?
Well, I think of like cop a feel, cop something, like you're getting it, like you're nabbing it.
You would.
Right?
You would.
Isn't that where it's from?
I'm referring to police officer cop. Like, what is that?
Oh, is it like derogatory to call a police officer a cop?
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of, I don't know. We're going to ask him because I've been told one thing and then I've been told another.
I don't know.
It's actually, though, some people think it's an acronym for, constable on patrol. Oh. Some people think it is a it's short for copper in regards to the tin or the copper that they wore on their badge.
Like
Interesting.
Old Jimmy Cagney movie. Hey, copper.
I always thought it was like
copper.
to nab, or like you're getting, like you're a cop, like you're copping something.
Like you're
right?
taking someone?
Yeah, like you're, and I said cop a field. Please don't get that wrong, because that was not.
As she touches my arm, she's like, "I feel." So
everybody knows I'm a big old prevert anyway. But
pig would be bad. I mean, back in the '60s,
that's bad.
The pigs, the pig, keep the pig. That's bad,
Well, that's because it's used derogatorily.
Nobody says fuzz anymore, but that was a '70s thing where you called the fuzz.
It started when I think I had to. I have a very close relationship with the police officers.
Would you like to elaborate on that in a positive manner, please?
As I am a bartender that has to rely on them from time to time
for bar fights and whatnot.
Yes, yeah. But for the most part, I remember it was years ago. One of the police officers in town, his name is Kyle, and I said, "Later, Kyle," and the whole bar thought I said, "Later, cop," and they were like, "What?" So that's where this kind of came into question. So ever since then, I was like, is this a bad?
I guess it probably depends on how you use it.
Yes.
Like what context is, you're like, whatever, cop. Yeah, it's bad. But if you're like, oh, he's a cop.
Yeah.
They don't like it when you call them ossifer after you've had a few drinks when you're stopped. Ossifer, was I doing something wrong?
Hey, could you say
that? I've ever done that.
No, I bet not. Have you ever, can you say the alphabet backwards even sober?
Probably not. No.
Yeah,
I can't walk in a straight line sober.
I don't think I can either.
I always think I go Z and then I can't even think after
that.
I'm
like, I don't know, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I can say them forward.
Yeah. No, I cannot. So.
That's funny.
No.
Well, my relationship, I think also, I think everyone's relationship with police officers change with time and age, and I don't know.
And class. And a lot of people, we've mentioned it before, a lot of people like to pit like the race thing, but I think it's more of a class situation than a race thing. So like depending on where you are and how, kind of
values.
Yeah. So where you are in your life, then.
And in doing this job and doing it for as long as I have in this town, I've been through a few police chiefs. I've been through a lot of police officers and dealing with them. And I've always tried to respect the territory and never, I've got a job to do, they've got a job to do, but I never want to get in their way. I've always like, okay, if I need to stay back here, do whatever. Yeah. Eventually, it's like when you're on the scene of a fire. Eventually, the fire guy, the guy in the white hat, eventually the officer on duty, eventually one of them will come aside and they'll, tell you what you need to know. And, I don't think I remember very few times where we've had some clown, who came into Quincy in the media market. I mean, I remember a couple of TV guys who thought they were actually like, hey, I'm going to be in New York in 2 weeks, so I'm going to try to bust some stories or whatever. Never done that because I've lived here most of my life. So I think it's important to have that respect, have that relationship, again, and to cover good stories. When they do a lot of great things in this community. Every once in a while, you got a bad story you got to cover. There's trouble in the department, or there's something going on. But 99% of our dealings with them are positive, even though we're dealing with sometimes bad situations. The interactions I have with QPD, the Adams County Sheriff, Illinois State Police, are always positive and professional. It's been very, very few guys who, if I saw the police officer on duty on the scene, I'd be, I gotta deal with that prick. No, that's very seldom. Most of the time it's, hey, can we, our next guest, we had a situation a few months ago where I was dealing with him and I was being respectful. There was another officer there who I have a very good relationship with, and he's like, hey, can we go back here and talk? I'm like, sure, let's just go back there and talk. Yeah. So, but anyway, I think it's important. They have a tough job to do. It's one of those jobs where you don't get a lot. You get respect, but you also get a lot of heat and you get a lot of criticism. It's just very, very difficult.
Heat. That's another name for it.
It is right. Great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Pacino and De Niro. Yeah. So
nice pull.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was like, dang.
But I'm going to let you guys talk to Sergeant Brown.
Yeah.
And he'll come on here and chat, and you guys will have some fun and find out some good stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm excited.
Yeah, and we'll be back in a little bit.
All right.
The Liquor Booth is your home for a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. The Liquor Booth has 2 locations in Quincy, 3520 Broadway and 1500 North 12th Street. The Liquor Booth, where it's always happy hour.
Instant Replay is your local sports bar. With 18 big screen TVs, we have all the sports packages from college games to pro games. We offer daily drink specials, and come check out the Bullpen, our newly renovated beer garden. Instant Replay, 2739 Chestnut in Quincy.
Wow, I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't.
Brown Sergeant, Detective Sergeant?
Detective Sergeant.
Sure,
Okay.
whatever.
Detective Sergeant.
All right, Detective Sergeant James Brown, we are back, right? Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. When I heard you were coming, I was really, really excited. And then I saw you, and you come in with an injury, and I got even more excited. Did this happen on the job?
No, this was a personal injury.
Oh, is it a good one, though?
I will just say, even though I've been telling all my friends it was either a shark attack or mountain lion, but all I can say is that a 46-year-old man should not skateboard when they haven't been skateboarding for 2 decades. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's ballsy, man. Let me give you just a little fun story. So my girlfriend, who used to get hurt all the time, would tell people that she got it in a skateboarding accident. So you actually did.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Didn't feel good.
Good for you. I love extreme.
Are you going to skate again?
Not for another 20 years.
Yeah, I think you got to get more practice. Maybe you wouldn't have those injuries.
Yeah, and I had Crocs on, so that didn't help. And it was a bad combination.
Haven't you seen injuries like this on the job, James?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
James.
Yes.
James Brown.
James Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got to ask.
I've heard
name saying.
I've heard every joke. I've heard everything. Exactly.
Get on up.
My uncle or some members of my family were named James, and so that's just how it came.
So there's really no correlation.
No correlation to any football player, any singer.
How many James Browns are there in your family?
This was
lineage.
I think 2.
Okay.
And it's like great uncle maybe, and then like I think James was like maybe like great grandpa's middle name.
Got it.
So
great, solid name.
Every time I say your name, I have to.
You have to do the James Brown.
The full name.
I love it.
Yeah.
You know, not too many officers have a cool name. That's a pretty cool one. Do you get shit for it when you pull people over? Do you pull people over? I don't even know what you do.
Tell us about your career. How does
it go?
I haven't pulled anybody over really in like a patrol function for years.
Okay.
I mean, I've been on for almost 25 now.
Wow.
So I did all that early in my career, and then I did the drug thing for 4.5, 5 years, and came back from Jamaica one time with cornrows in my hair.
I heard about these cornrows.
I was expecting somebody to feed you one of these pictures or something. I was waiting for you to bust one out because it's happened before.
Okay, so explain this though. Like you went when you said the drug thing. You went undercover.
Yeah. So I worked at the task force for 5.5 years, and at one point I had hair down the middle of my back.
But you still were wearing your eyeglasses, right?
No, I don't think I had glasses then.
No. I thought you had eyeglasses and cornrows. And did you have a bead in the cornrow in Jamaica?
When I came back from Jamaica, I came back with blue and orange beads hanging down. I had about a 6-inch tails on the back of all the rows.
Nobody would recognize them.
For the Chicago
for
Bears.
The eyes and the ears.
So yeah. Another time I had just big. I went biker like handlebar mustaches that were hanging down about probably 5 inches down.
That's insane. And were you undercover in Quincy?
Yeah.
And people didn't know you?
No, I actually had one guy.
That's insane.
Yeah, wanted to meet me.
You would not be able to do.
No.
We met, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And he's like, where's James? I'm like, I'm right here. And he was from like me to you guys, and so then he handed me a gun.
So
and
did
said,
you do your own designs or?
Yeah, it was just one day if I got tired of it, then I'd shave something off. And once I had the full beard, I'm like, I can't just shave it all off. So then I just shaved like all this off and had the handlebars. And then it was just when I took the cornrows out. That's the best picture. When I took the cornrows out, I had the biggest perm. Like it was just poof.
Big perm.
It was
perms are coming back.
Yeah, they are.
So when you were undercover, because I mean, if I had to go undercover, it would be like something out of a movie. I'd be terrible at it, for one. But I would be scared shitless because, I mean, you run the risk of really getting hurt or in trouble, right?
Yeah, but we're not like Chicago or St. Louis or anything like that. I mean, and we don't, I mean, it's no secret. We don't do a lot of direct buys ourselves local. Now, I did do some direct buys from some people, and it was funny because they ended up being
some kids that would cause problems. They were skateboarders and they were like 14, so they were always running around smoking, being in traffic and hitting, all that stuff. And then fast forward like 10 years, and I'm sitting there with all my beard and everything. I ended up buying weed off of him, and then going back, and he had a whole bunch of pounds in his house, and blah, blah, blah. But he's like, man, I knew you looked familiar. But what was really fun is when we went up to Chillicothe, Illinois, and did summer camp. Either of you guys been?
No.
Big music festival. It's kind of this like wannabe Woodstock thing. But they have like
fun.
Primus, Zach Brown Band, like all these big names are there, and then a whole bunch of little bands. And it's my first time going there. Like I walked down the path, and it's like if you went out to Siloam and put a tent anywhere there's a spot of ground, just piled on top of each other, kids everywhere, and there's just like...
Now, you're saying kids, you're talking like...
anywhere from teenagers up to, 50, 60-year-olds.
Sweet.
Just everybody, stoned out of their mind. One guy's like walking by with like a garden trowel with like half an ounce of weed burning on it, just walking down.
No.
Now, in those situations...
Were you on duty when you were here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would go and do that, and then but we didn't even mess with weed. Like, all we did was like controlled substances, and there's so many people that just came from out of town. Like one guy I got, he had like 800 hits of acid on him that he was selling, and he was from New York. He literally just came here to sell acid, or
Damn.
That I did that for about 5 different summers.
Wait, you did acid?
No. I did, and I worked. I worked the.
You worked the Chillicothe.
I get it.
The Woodstock.
Event. Yeah,
I know.
That's awesome.
That was fun.
What you were saying about it being so packed, I saw you at a so packed concert. You know how Quincy is like the nexus.
Yes.
When we went to Chris Stapleton, there was not a seat in the house. We didn't go, but not a seat in the house. And then as I'm walking up and we're looking for a seat, there's James Brown, and he says, "Hey, Brittany." Yeah, there was no seat.
See,
next
that's
to
why
James
I find
Brown.
it hard to believe that you wouldn't be able to be noticed if you were undercover, because I feel like I could spot you in a crowd too. That's
Now.
just insane.
No, but I'm not a Quincy person. I'm not from here. I just moved here when I got my job, right?
Okay.
So,
I was
Where are you
that.
from?
Basically, I've moved around a lot, but mostly all over Illinois. Lived in Texas for a short stint, but.
So you got your job with the Quincy Police Department how many years ago?
25. I got it
So you've
when
been-
I was. I actually had to petition to leave college early because I got hired early. So I left the middle of my senior year to start the academy.
Impressive.
So I got that, and then had to do a memo to the police academy to let me out to go back to my own college graduation.
Oh.
So yeah, I got started real young, which means I'll get to retire young.
That's
and-
nice.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's excellent. So you mentioned being, so you're not from Quincy. You've been all over, and you've been in the profession for 25 years in the field. Do you think that crime is increasing, or do you attribute that to like media coverage, social media, especially in Quincy, if we want to keep it, if we want to talk about this local?
No, I think crime is increasing. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, obviously, notification of the public of what crimes are going on, that's obviously increasing just with internet and extra media attention, obviously. But kind of just the general, and I don't want to get like too political or anything here, but like the general, what I see is kind of the weakening of laws, just all across the board. You got some states that are now pushing to make controlled substances legal. Illinois, we're about to hit the basically the no cash bail thing.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's the worst idea ever.
Yeah.
It's just.
Do you think we're going to see some?
Here's I'll give you an example. Pre-COVID, this is going to get worse, just like what happened with COVID. Pre-COVID, you'd pull somebody over and they'd have an arrest warrant for driving suspended or theft or something like that. Maybe they'd have 2 or 3 different warrants because one would come out and then they'd miss court again for something else. Nowadays, they're just letting people out now, and then even if we arrest somebody on warrant, sometimes they go to the county and they just immediately get released without much of anything to do. And now you arrest somebody and they may have 5 or 6 or 8 warrants of different charges, and that is not uncommon. Just because there's no accountability. They especially during COVID, we got in this thing where we just don't keep anybody in the jail unless it's a violent crime, basically. So it's. And there's been law changes, just like this cash bail thing, that's just kind of eroding accountability, basically. So this is what you're getting. I mean,
yeah, and it's kind of eliminating what you guys can do as far as you can't really do your job, which is to protect and serve. Which thank you, by the way, for that.
Yes. Absolutely.
It has been said a couple of times that I do not back the blue, and I will wholeheartedly disagree with that. And I will
think we back the good blue.
We
though.
back the blue who protect and serve. That is one of
every profession, just like it was said before, every profession's got bad apples.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, nobody's disagreeing.
So it is
with
kind of
that.
strange when people lump it all together too, because I do think we need to distinguish that there are really good blue.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know
you can't
the
just
large
lump something all together.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, whether it's you get one bad carpenter that's overcharging people, or God forbid you find one bad politician or something. It's not like you automatically get to say, oh, all the carpenters, we're going to change all the laws for all the carpentry rules because this one guy, stole something on the job site or whatever the deal is. So,
absolutely. Well, I did want to thank you because I know that your job is not getting any easier, like you mentioned, with the changing laws. And you did mention, unless they're violent crimes, which is one thing we do want to touch on. And here at Club Buddy, we like to keep it a little light, but because we have you here, we do want to take advantage of talking about this because it has been a subject that we've touched on before, and that is the SVPs. So you touched on, cash bail eliminating. So basically, unless you're a violent offender, you won't be held accountable. So now we're talking about SVPs, and I just kind of want to get because you held a town hall about this program.
I did.
So I want to get maybe just give us.
Didn't you do a press meeting for this?
I've done a couple things.
Okay.
And I just did a town hall at the senior center too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we brought it up, and in true Brittany and Ashley fashion, we didn't really know shit about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to get your take on what it is and your take on it and how you think it's going to affect.
How you're involved with this too.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So so I've been the sergeant over juvenile investigations for about 5 years, and part of that position is monitoring sex offenders and murderers. So I've been, like I said, about 5 years. I had no idea this program was even a thing. So I get a phone call one day from a guy who he used to be a DOC agent, and so he kind of explains the process or the program to me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then so we got our first SVP. I end up talking to the director. He sends me a copy of their contract and everything that the SVP has to sign. So then I put something out. So basically what happens whenever, and usually it's two hands-on offenses against minors, sexual crimes against minors as an adult. Usually what will happen is within the last month or two of your DOC sentence, when you go to prison, then the attorney general's office and the local attorney, so that'd be like somebody from the state's attorney's office, they would get together and file a petition to label somebody a sexually violent person. If the courts all agree with the petition, then that person gets that label, and then once they get done with their DOC sentence, then they will get transferred. Usually around here, and most of the state people would go to Rushville, which is the department. It's not the Department of Corrections. It's a civil commitment, right? So it's prison sentence and a civil commitment is two different things, right? It's DHS versus DOC, so two different things. So they'll go to DHS. While they're in DHS, they've got counseling. They've got they do some pretty extreme things. They have to talk about their fantasies, and then they take a polygraph to make sure they're telling the truth.
Yikes!
And even more in detail with that, which I won't even talk about. But it's kind of crazy. And then before, in my 24 years, nobody ever got out, because generally, if you've committed 2 or 3 hands-on sexual offenses against minors, you probably were never going to change, because that's just what you're geared toward.
Yeah.
So usually if you got into DHS, that was usually a lifetime commitment. So now this program, which has been going on for, I think, close to 2 decades now, has deemed that now some of these guys are being deemed low risk, and so they're letting them out.
But that's new. Even though it's been going on for 2 decades, the letting out is new?
Nope. That's been going on for 2 decades. It's just new to Adams County,
Okay.
because we didn't have any treatment facilities or treatment options available.
But we do
now? So let me preface this.
Sorry.
So this program is administered from DHS. They contract out with Liberty Healthcare,
Okay.
which is a private organization, nothing to do with the Quincy Police Department. And for the 10th time for let me say, the Quincy Police Department, nor the city of Quincy, nor me, or anybody we didn't agree to this. We don't get any money.
How did we get
didn't
picked,
ask for
quote
it.
unquote? How did we get picked? I'm
So I asked the guy, and whatever the situation was, the treatment options that they have to keep going through was not available here. Probably, I'm assuming because we're all the way over here out, away from everybody else.
Yeah,
so
BFE.
all the major treatment, sex offender treatment, especially like chronic sex offender stuff, is some pretty intensive specialized schooling and therapy.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's major cities, right? Springfield, Peoria, Champaign, Chicago area. That's where most of them have all went until whatever changed. And I don't know.
So you don't know.
I don't know. It was just kind of some off the cuff conversation that it was something about some treatment options are now available. Maybe it's because you can do them by Zoom or something. I don't know. But obviously before, let's say that the closest thing was in was Peoria. It wouldn't make any sense to put somebody here if you got to drive them to Peoria 4 times a week. So whatever happened as far as their treatment availability, it opened up Adams County as a available place for them to go, and so now they're here. And the only involvement that we have is the placement guy will call me and say, "Hey, can you check this address if it's acceptable?" And I look to make sure it's not too close to daycares or schools or parks or whatever, and I say yes or no. And then from there, that's all the involvement we have. They call the landlord. The state, from what I understand, rents the place.
So the state rents the place?
Yeah, because these guys have probably been in DHS for years, 5-10 years after their Department of Corrections sentence. So it's no different than any other sex offender that may already be out that's living in Springfield that wants to move to Quincy.
You just have to register.
Liberty takes care of everything.
So let's touch on that. Liberty is based out of where? Because I thought I read it said Pennsylvania.
I believe that's right.
So
I should have brought my stuff.
It's Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So how are people in Pennsylvania monitoring? Or if you have nothing to do with it, really, technically.
Well,
and you said that there were all these things that they have to do. It's an extensive list of they can't answer their door, they can't answer their phone,
can't have Wi-Fi,
they can't have. So who's monitoring this?
So it's a big company that has offices in multiple states. So even though the company I think is based out of Pennsylvania, they still have
an office in
Springfield. Right? So and then they just pick whatever areas. The supervision rate is super small. It's like 4 or 5 SVPs per supervising agent, right? So where a DOC agent, for people on parole, I don't even know, they may have 30 or 40 people that they're supervising on parole, where these guys are only going to have 4 or 5 supposedly, according to their paperwork. And we've only got 1 in Quincy right now.
I was going to ask, so numbers wise.
Yep, so we've got 1. Okay. He's just called me, or he's been emailing back and forth with me to check some addresses. So I'm guessing we're probably going to get a second one sometime soon.
Did you say a total of maybe 20? Or did I read that somewhere else?
I thought somebody said 4 a year or something like that. But I don't know if is there a quantity, a limit?
There isn't.
No.
But I think when I first put this out, everybody kind of went in panic mode.
Well,
shit.
I
know. So I had all sorts of people that are in charge of housing for, homeless and all these different social agencies call me I can't, we can't find housing for our own people that need housing, let alone now we're importing, people that's got multiple, sex convictions and stuff. So
and they're getting their rent paid for.
And but this, in my opinion, probably boils down to money, right? Because
that's what I said too.
Because
we're getting something
if
out
we
of
can
it.
put them on ankle monitor and basically just lock them in their own house, and then maybe eventually make them get a job and pay for some of it, it's still going to be cheaper than housing these people, where you have to have on care, everything.
Yeah.
But aren't they supposed to have on care things if they're supposed to be monitored for everything? How are they being monitored?
Basically, they're just locked down in their house.
But how?
They're on ankle monitor for, multiple months. Like you said, they can't answer the door for anybody. Law enforcement. He said they may not even answer the door for me. I've still got to do. They're still under my supervision as sex offenders, just like any other sex offender. But they've got this additional layer with Liberty, right? So, and they've still got it. They've got to keep journals about all sorts of crazy things that pop through their heads.
Have to read these journals?
I don't know. That's all stuff through Liberty. My thing will be, investigate any complaints from the public. I've got to come out and check knock on their door, make sure they're actually living there once in a while. Just a standard sex offender supervision. They'll still, once they don't even have a phone at first, once they get a phone, they'll have to come back and register that phone number with me. They won't have Facebook or anything like that
that you know of.
That I know of.
See, that's my question. So, and this is not.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So this is not knocking QPD. It's not knocking Liberty. It's not knocking any of that. It's just it brings up. It begs the question because people are really hard to monitor anyway, especially with all of the technology, right? So, and if one guy, 25 guys, whatever, but. What is kind of the process for tracking sex offenders now? And if you don't mind, what's kind of the track record with QPD being able to do that effectively?
Okay, so a few things. So going to the SVPs, and I'm going to probably quote this wrong, so don't quote
You're
me
all right.
on it. But their success rate is only, I'm trying to think back, is only like 25 to like 35%. The rest of that, and I think it's only been like less than 200 that's been released according to their pamphlet that they sent me. Now that was a few years old, but and I just came back from a conference in Dallas, a child abuse conference, talked to a couple people from the AG's office that have involvement with the SVP program, and they're like, yeah, I've revoked about everyone that I've been involved with. So they have to stay on point or else they go back.
Sure.
Right? So as far as,
They go back where to?
They'll go back to DHS,
DHS.
to Rushville, to a civil commitment, not
back
because
to-
they are done with their criminal
Okay.
stuff. They will go back to a civil commitment.
Unless they commit an actual
Unless there's
crime.
a new crime, then they'll have me to deal with.
Yeah.
So as far as our monitoring here, there's basically me for 150 to 175 people.
That's a
Now,
lot.
that's sex offenders, that's murderers, that's violent offenders against youth. By statute, I have to go knock on their door at least once a year and verify that they're there. They have to tell me their phone numbers, their emails, all their social media, their vehicles, and all that other stuff. I can tell you that it's I arrest probably 2 or 3 a month. Probably if I go out and if I pull out 20 address checks to go and do tonight, and I'll find at least 1 or 2 that aren't generally probably living where they're supposed to be.
They're not complying.
Yeah.
Yeah, to their criteria of getting out and doing their thing. So, big job for you. QPD is already kind of stretched thin, correct? I mean, everywhere is stretched thin, but a police department is stretched super thin, right?
100%.
And so overall, I know that this is not your choice to be involved with this, but what do you think about it? Can you give me just like or is that like crossing a line? I just want to know how you
about
the SVP program.
Well, I mean, most of these guys have had 2 chances, so in my opinion, they probably shouldn't be out.
Yeah.
I mean,
or we should just have like I always thought, and I don't want to throw Quincy Island down the drain here, but I think we need to have like some kind of segregated place where they all can go because like you said.
That's how Australia was
See?
initially. It was a place to.
Sorry, I just hit your wound, but.
That's okay.
I think that, when you have so many strikes against you and you're not, you're not going to rehabilitate yourself. And if regardless of what anybody says, we don't really have enough resources here in Quincy.
Right.
I'm also not sure this is something that you can rehabilitate.
That's what I mean. So
depending on who you talk to, and there's and again, eroding accountability and things. Mm-hmm. There are all sorts of politicians that are. I know there was some laws that have been trying to pass to change the distance. Right now, sex offenders can't live within 500 feet of schools or daycares.
But they can
live
an attempt to 500 feet next to houses with children, which.
Well, that would be almost impossible.
I know.
So there's some people trying to change laws to move that distance back to like 250 feet instead of 500. One of these it was crazy. One of the class breakout sessions I went to, there was actually a congressional delegate had enough like 1,000 or 2,000 signatures to get on the ballot. I think it was in Virginia, and Homeland Security and the local agencies. His platform was to legalize pedophilia.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
And come to find out, he was running like 5 different websites that were like just about collecting pedophilia material and stuff. And he was a congressional, like he was on the ballot.
Sick.
There is a large movement. Everybody's heard of NAMBLA, and there's jokes kind of, but they are a serious organization now.
Well, and I think that, again, Brittany and I talk about conspiracy theories, but child sex trafficking, human trafficking, it has long been said that all of these greedy, powerful, call them politicians or whatever they are, but they come from all walks of life, that they are involved in this kind of shit. And I think that it is no longer a theory, and we have to really watch out for them. So it is even that much more concerning that we have, whether they're powerful or not, they are sexually violent people in our community. And like you said, there's 150 something that you're responsible for, whatever it is.
Right.
Scary for one. But you have taken, so there is something, and I actually got online today and did it. I put in my address to see who was living around me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I do recommend to everyone. If you go,
everybody should be checking.
Every day.
I had a lady call in because they had hired somebody to come do some work in their house. And was like gardening while they had their young kid inside, and I don't know what made them check after the fact, but they checked him after they'd already hired him and everything, and he's one of my sex offenders. And they're calling, they're like, "What do we do?" I'm like, "Fire him." I don't know.
Yeah.
You should have. I mean,
do your due diligence.
Yeah,
to start.
you should have checked before, and then now she's worried that something's happened with her kid, and
well, dang.
I mean,
it's
just
all
a scary
free.
world.
There's multiple sites you can go to check online to check that. You can check by your neighborhood. You can check individual names. I mean, it's all out there, free public information.
Yeah, and I think I got it through. I went to like the City Hall's website, I think, and then there's, if you go to one of the tabs,
you can either Google through the city and then the police department, the QPD's website, and then you button on down, or you can just Google Illinois State Police or Illinois Sex Offender Registration, and you just a few clicks, it'll get you to a search bar.
Yeah, and then you can see everybody on there, which is, it's terrible that the world has come to that. But I know that it's just the world is a scary place anymore, and that's not fear mongering. That's just basically saying do your due diligence, because it is happening, and whether we like the SVP program or not, in our hometown it is happening. And I'm sure, are we getting something for it? Are we getting any money? Are we getting anything?
We are getting nothing.
Son of a bitch.
there was
Okay, can I say what
not
I think
that
it
would
might
make it
be?
better, but
go ahead.
Yeah.
I do think, conspiracy theory a little bit, but a hotel downtown is reopening that was condemned, and I think that it's reopening. I don't really know the conditions behind it, but I'm pretty sure it's reopening soon with a new coat of paint. Could these SVPs be housed in a rundown hotel?
So I haven't heard anything about that.
This is rumors.
Yeah, no, there's so many rumors when I released this out.
I'm not going to be surprised though if this does happen.
So, number one, there's a state law that basically says that. Now it wouldn't quite apply, but there's a few laws that says like two sex offenders like on probation or parole or something can't live in the same multi-unit dwelling. No.
That's good.
That is
good to know.
Now it's not up to me. Now if a hotel opens and they call and they say, is this hotel good? I mean, Liberty. I can't necessarily say because
yes, you can.
They're not technically on parole or anything. So I don't think there would be anything that I could do.
Do you know if there
no.
is an SVP criteria that they can't be in the same dwelling, or is that just for people on parole, which is maybe different? I don't know.
So probation and parole, there's and it's only probation and parole enforced. It's not law enforcement force, but there's a state statute saying they can't live in the same dwelling. So all of the rules with Liberty and a lot of the first 25 of Liberty's contract are actually in state statute. If you look at the state law and Google SVP and you dig down in it, you'll see how it talks about the Attorney General files the petition, and then you'll see the first 20 or 25 rules as far as no internet and not answering blah blah blah, right? So I can't imagine that they would allow two of them.
I hope not.
I cannot imagine that they would.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for that, because there's nothing.
I think
unless we put them on the island.
Well, if they go on the island, that's fine.
I know that sounds...
As long as they're more than 500 feet away from schools and daycares,
See, that's what
I'm
fine.
like.
It sounds so inhumane, but I'm like, I think they've had their chance, and I don't want the rest of our community to be subjected to it.
Sounds more humane than some of the things that other people
suggest.
Right? So.
Yes. Okay. So I go back and forth. But anyway, okay. So thank you again for, I know this is not something that you probably signed up for, but now here you are and you're doing it, and hopefully.
What do you like to do?
Hopefully you do it really well. As long as hopefully you keep.
Yeah, no kidding.
They've let me do it for 5 years, so I'm like, I guess I'm still
But this
doing
is
an okay
stressful.
job.
So what do you do for fun?
Yeah. What do you do?
This morning, I took a vacation day today. So this morning, me and my buddy went golfing.
Excellent.
And you fail at skateboarding.
Yeah, I obviously can. I'm giving up skateboarding. I hunt about everything that there is. So took another vacation day, a couple days ago to go get my food plots ready and get my, work on my stands and stuff like that. So
nice.
Do you eat what you hunt?
I try to eat most of it.
Really?
That's just the code. I'm not saying I get it all down, but I try to do most of it.
So it's not just for sport.
Yeah.
It is. It's a sport, but it's yeah.
Deer I think is delicious. Turkey is probably the best meat wild turkey is probably one of the best meat that there is. Squirrel, you're kind of getting there.
You're getting a little backwoods.
Some tree rats. You're getting a little backwoods. But the funniest story. I had an ex one time, and she was trying to be super cool, and she's like, "I'm gonna cook you dinner." And so I went and killed some squirrel that morning or whatever.
Oh, jeez.
And so she did not think to quarter it just like you would anything else,
fillet it kind of, or
well,
whatever?
yeah, like cut it at the joint,
yeah.
So you'd have like 2 legs and 2 arms or whatever. So I got served basically a whole squirrel. Fried, God. Just laying on its side with its little arm, sticking out, and then like some potatoes and vegetables or whatever. Like,
well, she wouldn't know.
No, she was trying. It was, I ate it. It was fine.
Do you have a picture of this?
I
wish
do
you
somewhere.
You sent it, man.
You asked her to serve you squirrel,
and she did. Which I would have just hit you upside the head with this dead squirrel.
Yeah.
No kidding.
This was like 15, 20 years ago.
That's
but
a good story.
It was hilarious.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten? Is it squirrel?
Oh no, the worst thing I've ever eaten.
Doesn't have to be the worst, just the weirdest, like off the wall.
So I was in Mexico probably 10 years ago.
Every good story starts with that.
Yep, and you all, they have all these different restaurants. There's the Japanese restaurant and their own Mexican restaurant and seafood or whatever. So we go to the Mexican one, and first of all, they brought out this traditional Mexican drink. And if you love it, you love it. I don't mean to be offensive about it if it's your favorite drink, but I thought it was like hot chocolate or something. It was in like a clay, it was very traditional kind of atmosphere and stuff. It was in a clay mug, and I drank it, and it was basically a combination of hot chocolate and cream corn.
I think I've had that.
And I drank it, and at first I thought I liked it because I'm a huge chocolate person.
Were you drunk?
And then, no.
No.
And then I get the texture and weirdness of the cream corn, which I hate to begin with, in my mouth, and I was just like, "This."
Oh God!
And like I couldn't. It affected me.
It's coming back up.
So I'm like, you got to get this. You got to get this out of here. So they took it away, and then they brought the food out, and I don't know what I ordered, but who I was with ordered something, and it said in cricket sauce. So okay, no big deal. I didn't know what it was going to be. So then they bring the plate out, and I was already a little weirded from this drink. I just
your chocolate corn
my chocolate corn drink that I had to suck down, and then so there's whatever dish is there, and then on the side are like 3 or 4 like full size crickets, like all in sauce.
Gosh.
I'm like, let's just go to the buffet.
Yeah,
like we're just done with. I appreciate it, but we're done here.
You're such a wussy American.
Oh,
I'm kidding, but it is weird when they bring certain things out and you're like, oh, you don't want to be rude, but you also don't want to puke on the table.
No,
that would be more.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's
we just
interesting.
Yeah.
So
thank God there was the buffet.
Yeah, buffet's always good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could be anywhere with anyone right now, where would it be?
Oh,
that's a tough
the
question.
The main center with Muddy River staff.
I was hoping you would say that. We didn't even prompt him for that, guys. But
he didn't know where the main center was. I'm sorry. I got to bust
I'm
you
like,
out.
are you talking about the WCU building? I don't think I've been in this building. Like I said, since when I first moved here, maybe bought a shirt from Jose Banks or something when it was here. Besides that, I don't think I've ever been in here.
When it first was erected, and I'm just using that word because I love it, it was so beautiful. Like, it was one of the most beautiful buildings in
I still
downtown
think it
Quincy.
is.
Yeah.
It is. It doesn't have like the old charm that some of the buildings do, but it was really unique when it was first built.
I told James it feels like the 90s mall. With
It
our-
does.
It does, absolutely.
And the chairs out in the middle are very
Yes.
90s-esque. They remind me of the mall when you could actually smoke in the
Yes.
mall, if you remember that.
No.
I mean, you don't remember that?
No.
Oh, you're such a baby.
I know.
But yeah, it's a really cool place, and I do appreciate you saying that. But there is something to the question, like because it's a tough question for me. I don't think I have any like, super profound answer. But I mean, yeah, if I could be anywhere, it wouldn't be right here.
I have, so my first decade of being here, I'm going on vacations. I did all the Mexico, Jamaica, Bahamas type things. But over my last decade of vacations, I've really, besides going to Panama, which was kind of a really cool trip.
Yeah.
That me and my girlfriend just took like 4 months ago. Besides that, my last like 3 or 4 have all been like mountainy. So I did South Dakota last year. That was really cool.
Are you hiking while you're doing this?
Yeah, yep. Went up to like their tallest Black Elk Peak. There's like almost like an old fire thing at the
Cool.
top. So got up there and ate lunch. I've done the Colorado thing, Utah. Walked Grand Canyon. Like so, I've got some mountains in western Texas. I'm kind of eyeing right now. So I'm really kind of past all the just go drink at a pool in Mexico thing. I'd rather go hiking and see some stuff.
That resonates with me so much. We actually, I mean, every year we would go to Cancun, Jamaica, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, sitting around the pool, getting drunk every day. So much fun, eating weird food, and blah, 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 except for the chocolate corn.
Ugh.
It's so much fun, but there is a stage in your life, and I think I just hit it. We're getting ready to go to Colorado because I said, I want to try different things. I've been there and done that. It's amazing, but I want to go and see I want to see the United States,
Yeah.
not necessarily just like go sit on a beach. I want to see the United States because there's so many amazing sights to see.
And I really had not been internal in the States much.
Yeah, me either.
Besides just local Midwest stuff. So it's like just branching out. When I was in Colorado, I hit there's a section called 5 irons because it's 5 giant mountain chunks of rock that come out. They look like a clothes iron, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of like the triangle type thing. And so I'm walking up that thing, and as a big deer hunter, this was cool because there is a deer that would make our big deer here look like they're tiny, right? This was a huge buck just sitting.
In the wild?
Yeah. Just
Sure, it
going
wasn't
up.
a moose, James.
It was not
All
a moose.
right,
It
I'm
was
just
a deer.
making sure.
I got
Okay.
pictures because
Okay.
I'm the stupid tourist that's like taking the selfie with it back there.
Oh, yeah,
And then
and
I
it's
walk back.
charging you.
I walk back like 2 or 3 steps and I take another one, and then I walk back 2 or 3 steps and I take another
That's how
one.
people die, man.
I know. I'm just
on
waiting.
selfies.
I'm just
Yeah.
waiting to get gored in the back by
Yeah.
this gigantic,
Yeah.
7-year-old deer.
You can't handle any more injuries, James.
I know.
Jeez.
One skateboard and I'm out for a week and a half.
I wouldn't be tempting any fate there.
No,
especially in Colorado.
no, not at all. So.
James Brown dies of a selfie.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so again, not to switch gears too fast on you, but I do want to mention, of course, you were, I think, I don't know if I'm getting this right, lead investigator, lead guy on the Bleefnick case. Is that not right?
No.
Okay.
No. So, so that was a 100% team effort
Okay.
thing, right? I don't think now if I had to pick, I mean, the 2 adult investigators, Cowick and Eddie, they would, I guess, be what we would consider lead. But I mean, that was an all hands on deck situation.
Yeah.
I basically, just because I'm kind of the search warrant guy, I sat in my office for like 3 weeks and did nothing but crank out search warrants for every social media, every camera that was on their house, every single thing, his Whoop fitness thing, like every single, and then we'd get some results back and I'd flip out another search warrant, right?
Okay.
So I just sat in there typing, because I do a lot of search warrants, like when I'm doing all my child porn cases and stuff. So I'm the search warrant guy. I'm just sitting in the office all day, 3 weeks doing that, and those guys are beating the streets, interviewing witnesses and doing all that other stuff. And it's kind of a funny story, and I kind of joke with Cowick about it. I'm the detective sergeant over juvenile stuff. We have a co-sergeant that's over adult stuff. Technically, this was an adult case, right? So I'm helping as much as I can, but I let the adult section kind of do their thing. And so I'm with Cowick at one point, and we're kind of doing some surveillance, and I'm kind of creeping up, trying to look, and the plan wasn't for us to really be involved in like stopping Tim the first time. And so we had, some marked units out there, and he's like,
the first time, let's clarify this because I don't want people to think that you let him go.
Yeah.
And
So
okay.
Yeah. So there was two contacts. There was a contact where we stopped him, and that's where your cohort showed up. And
after the fact.
Yes.
Okay.
After the traffic stop, and that was the day that we did the search warrant at the house too.
Okay.
We
After the crime was committed.
After the crime
Okay,
was
I just don't I don't want people to get the wrong impression.
No, yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to creep up so I could see, and we were just kind of supposed to be some extra people, and he's like, back up, he's going to see you, back up. He's like, you're not going to have anything to do with this anyways. And then, as fate happens with police work all the time, when you're not supposed to be the one to do anything, he makes the wrong turn from where you think he's going to turn, and then there he goes.
And then here you
so
are.
then we're sitting there, and then there he goes, and we're like, oh shit, there he is. Don't look over there. And so then we have to spin around real quick, and we end up being the one to stop him.
So even though they said you have nothing to do with this, when you see him, of course, it's your police duty. It's your your sworn duty.
It was an
right?
operation. We had marked units.
Okay.
But we always want, if we can, to have a marked unit. Stop a person.
Right.
That way, there's no question that this is a police officer stopping you guys.
Sure.
Instead of just
you don't
a
want to
bunch
give
of people dressed like me coming out with guns. Right.
Right.
Now, Tim obviously knew that was probably going to happen at some point soon.
Right.
So, super cooperative, which, that was all said at trial and whatever. But it was just funny because that actually happened twice where Detective Cowick's like, you're not going to have anything to do with this. This is the plan to do this, and this person's going to do that instead. And then, all it takes is Tim to take one wrong turn or somebody to, look down and miss something, and then boom, there it is.
I would venture to guess that nothing, as in life, especially in a police force, ever really goes by plan.
I used to do drug operations and plan search warrants and stuff. I've never had enough surveillance units.
Yeah.
We could have 8,000 people out on surveillance, and something would go wrong.
Yeah.
That's just the
Murphy's
nature.
Law, man.
That's just the nature of the beast.
That's it.
So, but that worked out perfect. That was could not have went any better, I don't think.
Okay. So then I'm going to ask one question because I had this question myself, and is probably the reason people thought I didn't back the blue. But so it took from the day of the crime. Right, the day of the discovery to the day of the arrest, it took some amount of time. And like other people, I was like, well, what the hell took so long? I know it's not Law and Order. I know it's not, something out of a movie. But what took so long, James?
Well,
he said he was the only person. He's cranking out these things.
Okay.
Let me say this. This is a first-degree murder case that occurred, was solved, went to trial in 92 days or
I knew
or
you
whatever,
were going
right?
to say that.
In my 25 years, you've got some people on the board, on your board of follows
Misfits.
over there that have been going on for 3 years for things that are a lot more open and shut.
Yeah,
and
nice job.
So let me point that out first of all.
Last question.
Thank you, by the way, for
thank you.
answering
Absolutely.
that. Not the last question. I have more, but we'll wrap it up pretty quick. Okay.
Is the word cop derogatory?
I was listening to you. I guess it's like Ashley said. It depends on how somebody says it.
So if I said, "Hey, this is James Brown, my friend the cop,"
I don't care.
No.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
I think cop is.
I couldn't believe that this was I was like, wait. What?
We're gonna have to Google what cop means because I do think it means to like nab something, and I think that's where it comes from. And I said cop a feel, which again, forgive me, that is not what I didn't mean to like insinuate anything, but I think it does mean that. And see, I feel like Bob, this is when we need to have like cop back here in the definition because it definitely is nab or something.
So
like
Brittany
that.
was basically talking. Right out of my like. my college, textbooks over there with like the copper tint. So
right?
Yeah, so she's right up there about spitting out Sir Robert Peel stuff and right out the law enforcement textbooks.
I love it.
Yeah,
it's things
I was
that
impressed.
I would never think about. But okay, so last thing, and then we can cut her off. But wildest, funniest cop story, if you can say it with no names,
or include
the name if you want some juicy nugs.
Wildest, craziest story. So I would probably have to go back to Chillicothe to their event that they have there.
800 hits of acid.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So the way we've been doing that for years, so it's not like anybody doesn't know we're there, right? So we walking down the trails, and you would just listen for certain things and end up making a deal for some sort of cocaine or acid or just hard controlled substances. And it was toward the end of the night, and you'd have a couple of buying agents, and you have like some full-time SWAT team guys that were dressed down, and one guy was like in just suspenders and just looking goofy like everybody else is. And there was 2 teams of us, so there was like 8 guys all like hanging out toward the end of the night, and one of them ended up buying some stuff from this kid. And then usually what would happen is if I bought some drugs from you, then I would take my hat off or whatever, then a couple of SWAT team guys would come over and be like, hey, state police, just walk out with us. And it went down nice and cool. We walked them back to the barn, and you got your ticket and whatever else. This guy, and he was, I don't know, maybe 20 years old, average build, average height. It took 8 of us. He decided to fight. He throws, a full sandwich baggie full of like hits of like MDMA and stuff. Another bag full of, I don't know if it's cocaine or what it was. And there would be like 3 these giant SWAT guys on him, and he was sweaty, and he would wiggle out, and then it was a dog pile, and he would break free again. I ended up grabbing both of his legs, trying to hold his legs together. He kicks me. It was the damnedest thing I've ever seen. If there wasn't 8 of us there, this kid would have gotten away.
Damn.
And I mean, it was.
Well, I think that's the MDMA and the acid.
It was a fight.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy going on. So
that's insane.
Bob did come through. The term copper was originally a word used in Britain to mean someone who captures.
You're close with your copperfield.
In the sense
Just call me Webster.
of to capture from 1704. Nice job.
Nice.
That was really good.
Hey,
Clutch.
Hey, I'm telling you. Detective, Sergeant, Detective
Or just
James
you.
Brown.
Hey, you.
James Brown.
We
get on
appreciate
down.
you.
Absolutely.
This was a great interview. I
Yes,
hope you
thank
come
you so
back.
much.
Hope we
Anytime.
didn't give you too much heat. Thank you so much, right? Yeah, I think that does it. Unless you have more.
No,
I think we nailed it.
I'm good.
think
I
we're gonna have
appreciate
to
it.
Yeah.
We're going to convince him to have one more Busch latte.
We'll see.
We'll see.
All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much. Appreciate
you.
it.